Life is complicated. I killed people, smuggled people, sold people. Perhaps here, things will be different.
GTA 4, the third highest rated game of all time. Good to see you're still in second place, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. There's probably no other game where my opinion of it has flip-flopped as much as Grand Theft Auto 4. After the incredible San Andreas, the expectations for this game were huge, especially with the longer wait compared to the 2-year gap between Vice City and San Andreas. The first GTA game on the 7th generation of consoles, it was set to revolutionize the series, and then it finally came out to almost overwhelming critical praise, which naturally drove my own personal hype for it through the roof. Once I finally got my hands on it and started playing, I was blown away with the game. At first, the graphics were amazing, especially the character models in comparison to the blockier look of San Andreas.
Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
Liberty City looked absolutely amazing in HD, the city looking even more like New York City than it did before, which as a New Yorker myself, I really appreciated. But despite great impressions and fun towards the beginning, at the end of the game, I felt really mixed. I felt like something was really off about the game. This is the highest rated game ever, I thought to myself. It was getting 10s everywhere. People couldn't stop singing its praises. So why didn't it feel like the masterpiece everyone was calling it? At first, I wondered if it was me. I was in my last year of high school, planning to go to college, and my tastes in gaming had changed quite a lot. Shooting games weren't really my thing anymore, and I leaned more into JRPGs. Maybe I'd just outgrown the genre. I wasn't sure at first, and I remember replaying the older GTA games just to see how I felt about them. And yeah, I still like them. A lot. There was just this fundamental difference between GTA 4 and what came before it. The fun, more over-the-top story and missions were gone. And in its place was a more grounded and serious story, with much simpler and repetitive feeling missions. And as time went on, my feelings didn't really change. But everyone else started to agree with me. They shared the same issues and felt that the so-called masterpiece was completely overhyped. The DLC stories, the Lost in a Dam and Ballad of Gay Tony, would fix some of the problems with the original release of the game, but it didn't really salvage the whole experience for me. For the longest time, that's just how I felt about GTA 4. An okay, but otherwise overrated game. But then something happened. Something that would completely flip my opinion on this game. Yeah, GTA 5 was released, and all of the marketing went out of its way to show it was going back to the good old days of GTA. We're back in San Andreas, we got wacky missions and characters, you now have 3 playable characters. This was going to be the best Grand Theft Auto ever. And then I ended up hating it. GTA 5 felt shallow, like it tried so hard to avoid being like GTA 4 that it ended up ignoring its better aspects, coming up short when trying to copy what the original trilogy did right. While it had this massive, huge world, I never felt motivated to engage with it or explore it at all. Once again, I wondered if it was me. Maybe Grand Theft Auto wasn't for me anymore. So like I had done years earlier, I went back and played the older titles. And while the original trilogy was still a blast to play, to my surprise, I suddenly ended up appreciating GTA 4 a lot more.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
The things I hated about it originally, its gritty realism and seriousness, I ended up enjoying a lot more. I paid attention to the story, I sympathized with the characters, the game kept me engaged. I took more time to explore Liberty City and discovered tons of new things I never knew about. The game that left me underwhelmed was suddenly fresh and amazing. But was it always like that? Or did I feel better because I wasn't crazy about GTA 5? Well, join me in finding out as I revisit a game that is paradoxically overrated, but also underappreciated. To keep the video from being too long, I'm only going to focus on the original GTA 4 release, and won't be going over the episodes from Liberty City. But if you're interested in my opinions on those, comment down below and let me know. I may make a follow-up video to this one somewhere down the line. So let's get into it. The game kicks off with our protagonist, Niko Bellic, on a ship due for Liberty City. Well, actually, it starts with some random guy getting whipped by a dominatrix.
Dirty fucking bitches!
Dave, come on.
Come on.
Feels a little random, especially since that guy never shows up again, but I guess the game wants you to have a laugh as you're starting. During the opening, Niko shares some words with his friend and fellow immigrant, Hassan, explaining a bit about why he's come to Liberty City. It's mostly kept vague and not fully explained until later, but we find out Niko had previously fought in a war in Eastern Europe, and after being unable to find work when the war was over, he fell into a criminal life and got mixed in with some very bad people. So he's decided to try and start a new life for himself in America, while also trying to get away from the people who are after him. But once he's fresh off the boat, any ideas of a glamorous life in Liberty City are shattered pretty fast when he's picked up by his cousin, Roman.
Niko, my cousin! I can't believe it, you're here! Welcome to America!
Bravo, Barazzaru. What? Good to see you, man. What? You forget our language?
Kabusi?
Roman has emailed Niko all about his amazing life in America. A prospering business, tons of beautiful women, fast cars, and an amazing mansion. Which of course is all bullshit. I'll give Niko credit though, as the opening makes it clear he didn't fully buy what Roman was selling. Still, he wasn't expecting just how lousy his cousin's living situation actually was. A tiny and failing cab business, thousands of dollars of debt, and living in a tiny crappy apartment. Though considering the cheap apartments you can get in New York City nowadays, Roman's might as well be a mansion in comparison. The two cousins catch up, with Niko spilling more about his time back home. From his tone, his actions and the things he saw during the war still weigh heavy on him. Best summed up by this line.
You remember, during the war, we did some bad things, and bad things happened to us. War is where the young and stupid are tricked by the old and bitter into killing each other.
But for the time being, we're still in the dark about why he's really here in Liberty City. After Roman goes back to work, you're given full control of Niko. Heading over to the taxi depot, you'll be introduced to two new characters. Mallory, who's Roman's girlfriend and works as his secretary or taxi dispatcher, I think. It's hard to say, as while you do see her at his depot, and she's supposed to be working for him, you never see Mallory actually doing any work throughout most of the game. Along with her is Vlad, who I mistook for Roman's boss, but is in fact a loan shark he owes a lot of money to. Vlad hangs around the cab depot to harass Roman for his money, and is constantly hitting on his girlfriend Mallory. Naturally, he and Niko don't take a liking to each other.
No, and Roman, tell this fucking yokel here, if he doesn't stop staring at me, I'll have his head chopped off and put a film of it on the internet!
Can't wait to inevitably kill that asshole. GTA 4 starts off rather slow, with Niko helping Roman with his taxi business. The first hour or so's worth of missions more or less just being an extended tutorial for some of the new things in this game. The first mission has you taking Roman to the hardware store and then outrunning some loan sharks. Some different loan sharks. And receiving his old cell phone at the end. Afterwards, Niko needs to pick up Mallory and her friend Michelle, taking the latter on a date afterwards. But only if I buy some new pants. What the fuck, Michelle? I'm new to this country. Don't poor shame me. There's not much to say about Michelle. She weirdly takes an immediate interest in Niko, and the bowling date with her is fine, but she comes off a bit milquetoast in terms of her character. I'm sure she'll just be a disposable girlfriend with no plot relevance.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
The date is just a tutorial for the friendship system, as throughout the game, various characters will hit Niko up to hang out for drinks, to eat, play pool, or do whatever. You know the whole meme with this game.
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go bowling.
Though, to be honest, I don't know if it was something that was patched, but friends hitting me up to hang out didn't really feel all as obnoxious as I remembered. Your friends aren't constantly calling you, and yeah, sometimes they'll call during a mission, but Nico will usually have a scripted response for them to avoid being forced to hang out.
Nico, it's your cousin. You want to shoot some pool?
Shit, Roman, I can't talk now. Damn!
And having to manage their friendship level feels annoying at first, but once it's high enough, you can just cancel plans immediately after making them. Which, I'll admit, I had no idea you could do that when I first played the game. And you do get some unlockables once you get their friendship high enough. With Roman, for example, sending you a free taxi cab if you give him a call. Continuing our adventures in Liberty City, we save Roman from getting stomped out, play taxi driver some more, and make a new friend in Lil Jacob.
Realness, brother. Yeah, my man Roman's cousin. Thanks, respect. This rascal that I ruckus with my brethren real bad man the other day. I want to make peace, but John know what type of shit they might pull off.
Man, it's dang old complicated, you know, man. It's like a dang old Rubik's Cube, man. You like talking about blue, red, man, then you get to one side, and then you like messed up the other side.
He smokes the weeds, deals the drugs, and honestly, I ended up liking him a lot more than I was expecting, even if I could never understand what he was saying. His first mission acts as a tutorial for the shooting in the game, and it's okay. The lock-on works relatively well, and you can switch between targets easily enough. I just hate the manual aiming in this game, as you have to half press the trigger as opposed to fully pressing it, which is awkward as all hell. Though if this game supported the PS5's haptic controller, it'd probably feel a lot more natural. Along with the shooting, there's also new cover mechanics, allowing Nico to snap to an object or a wall to protect himself and fire back at enemies. Like the shooting, it's a bit awkward too, as I found myself covering behind the wrong object's surface constantly, and always had a hard time switching between and leaving cover. The whole system is made even more annoying as enemies will also use and fire behind cover, and almost never leave cover, making certain firefights drag a lot more. After wrapping up helping Roman, Nico has the option to work for him as a taxi driver to make some extra money, which I don't think I ever ended up doing during this run. Vlad will call soon after and threaten bodily harm on Roman if Nico doesn't start doing favors for him. Guess we have no choice but to listen to this asshole for now. Working for Vlad feels more like your traditional GTA work, as he'll send you out to extort people who owe him money, either shaking them down or just straight up stealing their cars, with his final mission asking you to kill someone for him, and introducing the player choice system. Throughout the game, you'll be given the option to kill or spare certain people, or choose to kill one person over the other. And it really isn't as game-changing as I originally thought it would be. For one, these choices are spread out so far between each other you might actually forget it's a mechanic in the game. 2, there isn't really an immediate reward for sparing or killing someone outside of the mission bonus. For example, if I spare Ivan instead of killing him for Vlad, he thanks us and disappears completely from the plot. Which happens if you kill him too, for obvious reasons. Or so I thought. As it turns out, Ivan does end up showing up later in the game as a random encounter, having turned his life around and giving Nico an optional mission. That said, it doesn't really change the whole direction of the game, like unlocking a branching path for example. Part of me thinks it started as a sorta karma meter for Nico, but the devs dropped the idea once they realized that most missions require you to kill targets in order to complete them, so it doesn't really make sense to be a good or a bad criminal, and they probably didn't want to revamp the whole game to create a pacifist option. After sparing Ivan, we catch up to Roman, who looks down in the dumps. Turns out Mallory has been cheating on him with Vlad, which you'd think would be just desserts considering Roman constantly cheats on her, but he actually liked her. His feelings 180 though when he finds out Nico might have known.
Yeah.
You knew?
I had suspicions.
You fucking knew?
What was I going to say?
You knew my woman was banging this warthog and you didn't do anything?
I didn't
say anything?
I didn't know.
You're an asshole, Nico Bellic! A disloyal user! After what I did for you, you dick! You fucking dick!
I'm sorry!
Screw you!
All right, so you want me to deal with it right now?
No. Sit down.
No! I'm not going to stand here and have you call me disloyal. You might let some Russian asswipe bang your woman, but I won't.
But you fucking did!
That was before I knew you cared!
Well, we're not gonna let our cousin be a cuck, so it's time to put that piece of shit Vlad down once and for all. We confront him at his bar where we've been meeting him for his missions, and he takes off, leaving us to deal with his goons. The cousins Bellic soon give chase, and I've been trying to avoid talking about it for as long as I could, but I'm forced to bring it up now. I hate the driving in this game. Yeah, I know, real hot take. The car handling in this game is pretty much near the top of the list of complaints when it comes to it. Some people argue that it's meant to be realistic, but no, it's not. Real cars don't handle like bars of soap. Making tight turns is fucking awful. It feels more like I'm handling a boat for most of the time than I am a car. I'm constantly slipping around while driving, and it takes forever for me to correct the car, which is extremely frustrating when you're trying to chase someone down. I don't consider them bad exactly, as I eventually got used to it. Well, mostly anyways. But it's just awkward as all hell unless you're using faster and smaller cars. My little rant over, eventually we catch up to Vlad, and he tells us if we kill him, his powerful friends will be after us. Yeah, whatever dude, eat shit.
You were the stupid one, Vladdy boy. Nobody fucks with my family.
With that, our cousin's honor has been restored. Roman isn't very grateful though, as he's terrified that Vlad's supposed powerful friends will now be after the two of them. Nico tries reassuring him, and also takes the time to open up about his time in the army. His squad of friends were killed during an ambush, as someone in their group had betrayed the others for money. There were only 3 survivors of the ambush, and since Nico knows he didn't betray the group, he's spent the last 10 years of his life searching for the other 2 survivors, one of whom he's tracked to Liberty City, though he's not sure which one it is. This calms Roman down a little bit, as the two take in the situation and toss Vlad's body into the river. All loose ends wrapped up, looks like it's happily ever after. Oh hey Roman, what are you doing hiding in this dumpster?
Oh!
Get out of the dumpster, Mr. Fatman! Come on, fatty. The boss wants a little chat. Wake up!
Well, well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions. As it turns out, Vlad wasn't bluffing. His boss is less than happy that we killed him. We're now introduced to Dmitry Raskolov and his partner, Mikhail Faustin. They make quite the pair, with Dmitry the calm and level-headed one, and Mikhail the angrier and impulsive one. Their antics would make a watchable sitcom.
So, Nico Bellic, you think it's okay to kill my employees? If he is an asshole, yes.
If you thought Vlad was bad, Faustin is on a whole nother level. He's a bit unhinged to say the least, as he's quick to kill one of his own goons just for looking at him funny. And unfortunately for Nico, despite the fact Faustin didn't even like Vlad, he doesn't appreciate the disrespect in killing one of his guys, and forces Nico into his servitude. He also shoots Roman in the stomach to show he means business.
Shut up, Roman. Roman, shut up. Shut up, Roman. Roman, shut up. Fuck!
Mikhail! Shut up! Stop shooting people, you maniac! My wife doesn't like when people shout! Whatever!
But also to shut him up. With no room to argue, Nico does as he's told. His first task for his new psycho boss is to steal a bunch of TVs another group is trying to sell on his turf, which involves first stealing a police car, and then using it to pull them over and rob them. His missions will mainly involve taking people out from a rival Russian mafia family. But we also have to deal with his personal life, as he'll ask us to kill a biker who's trying to woo his daughter. The escalating gang war causes Faustin to become more and more unhinged. his relationship with Dimitri deteriorating throughout. From what we learn about the two, they're close friends and blood brothers who immigrated to Liberty City together. But it seems years of abusing drugs and alcohol have eroded Faustin's mind, turning him into the charming psychopath he is today. It's not all doom and gloom during this section though, as we do get to meet the oh-so-awesome Brucey.
Brucey! Have you met my cousin, Nico? This is Brucey. We met online.
Oh, lovemeat.net?
No! In a dark corner, doing dark deeds. We're both players, my friend. Players. VIP. For real. Classy, but also sexy. That's how I like my women. I work at it, so they should too, right?
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
Brucey's a dreamer. He understands my vision.
Oh, so he's an idiot.
Hey!
Screw you. Listen, man, you should try going online.
He's a lifestyle coach, car entrepreneur, and all-around roidhead. Despite his over-the-top nature, he's weirdly one of the more realistic characters in the game. Like if you go to the gym, you've absolutely met someone like Brucey. That guy who working out is his life, is constantly bragging about his crazy lifestyle, and is convinced those Asian tattoos he got when he was drunk mean health and happiness. Unfortunately, our first meeting with him is a little dull, as the mission is really just there to teach Nico how to use his email and the internet. Man, I kind of forgot that phones couldn't always get email. How fast technology has evolved in the last decade. For something I didn't really pay all that much attention to, and I'm assuming other players did the same, I'm impressed with the work Rockstar put into using the internet in GTA 4. Outside of getting missions from Brucey, Nico will receive emails from his mom, can read blogs, try online dating, read the news, which usually includes updates on the shenanigans Nico gets wrapped up in. And hell, you can even buy ringtones or wallpapers for his phone.
Dimitri.
Hey. Sit down.
What's the problem?
What do you think?
Mikhail, Mr. Faustin.
Uh-huh. You're given a choice. Kill your best friend or die. What do you do?
And there is no way out?
Not now. Not after you killed Petrovic's son.
Well, looks like shit's hit the fan. Faustin's antics have pissed off the wrong people, and Dimitri and Nico have no choice but to kill him or die alongside him. Dimitri doesn't sound happy about this choice, but as he warned Faustin over and over again, they have to play by the rules. Dimitri leaves you some body armor for the mission, and you're absolutely going to need it. Nico confronts Faustin in his club, and rather interestingly, he's already expecting him, like he saw this betrayal coming, though he's quick to warn Nico that Dimitri will betray him too. Faustin won't go down without a fight though, as he sicks all of his goons on Nico. And Jesus, this place is a nightmare to get through. As soon as he takes off, Nico is completely exposed, and has to shoot his way through Faustin's goons to give chase. But the wide open area of the club doesn't give you much cover, so you'll have to kill his goons fast. Even after the first batch is done though, you'll still have more to deal with in a narrow hallway. And forget running away from them either, as they'll shred you to pieces before you make it to Faustin. When you corner him on the roof, he drops his gun, more or less accepting his fate, but still calling Nico and Dimitri out for their betrayal. I forgot to bring it up earlier when I killed Vlad, but during certain missions, you can pull out a pistol to trigger a special execution, as opposed to just gunning them down outright. It's cool, I guess, but it just amounts to playing an extra cutscene.
You have got me cornered! There's nowhere for me to go!
You betrayed yourself, Mr. Faustin.
Man, that scene loses a bit of impact with the way Faustin ragdolls off the building. Well, that was a bit intense. I think I'll cool off with some TV for a bit. A short time later, Dimitri calls up to arrange for Nico's payment, asking him to come out to a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and to come alone. Well, nothing suspicious about that. Though Lil Jacob isn't convinced, calling Nico up and offering to act as backup just in case something goes down. You're a real one, Jacob.
Hey, Nico. Glad you could make it.
Yes. You got the money?
Sure. But I just wanted to say how grateful me and my bosses are for what you did.
Good.
Yes. And I just wanted to check something with you.
Okay.
You are Nico Bellic, correct?
What is this?
And you used to work the coast in the Mediterranean, smuggling people into Italy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But you messed up. And left a lot of bad debt. You left a good friend of mine out of pocket. Big time.
Hello, Nico.
Hello, Mr. Bulgarin.
Yes. Where is our money?
I don't know. I didn't rob you.
Really?
We were busted a mile off the coast. I had to swim for my life. I don't know what happened. I nearly drowned.
Huh. My heart is bleeding.
I did my best. I didn't fuck up.
God damn it, Dimitri, you piece of shit. Now, Dimitri's betrayal isn't really surprising. I think my problem with it is how damn fast it comes after killing Faustin. Before this point, we're led to believe that Dimitri and Faustin are working on their own operation. The hit on Faustin being a necessary evil to keep peace between their group and Petrovic's group. Yet Dimitri is now working with Bulgarin out of nowhere, immediately selling Nico out to his old employer. Yeah, it's there to paint Dimitri as a snake, but he's been rather calm and respectful to Nico throughout the missions he was doing for them. Part of me thinks that maybe Dimitri's mind broke somewhat after betraying his best friend, and in his head this is his twisted way of avenging Faustin. But there's not much that really supports this, and his characterization as the story goes on really just makes him into more of a mustache-twirling villain than a deeply conflicted character. After shooting our way out of the warehouse with Lil Jacob, Nico meets up with Roman to catch him up on the situation. Roman suggests they get out of town and lay low for a bit, getting some help from Mallory and finding a place to stay. The cousins swim back to their place, but unfortunately Dimitri's men have already been there, having burnt down their apartment and Robin's cab depot too. With nothing left for them, and the whole Russian mob breathing down their necks, the pair head for Bohan.
Bring on the Bohan!
Okay.
13. No, I didn't. I told you I was 13.
Thank God you're okay. Mwah, mwah. Both of you.
We're fucked. We're broke and on the run.
No, I'm from up here, Nico. I know a bunch of people who might be able to help out. Why don't you come and meet me at the community center later on? I gotta go to work. Bye, Papi. Mwah, mwah. And have a shower. You smell a little, mature.
So, I guess we start again.
Sure. I'm going out.
Despite their predicament, I don't think things are so bad right now for Nico and Roman. For one, this apartment is way better than the last one they had. Also, despite being on the run, you can go back to Broker to do whatever despite the Russians looking for Nico. It's not like in GTA 3 where if you piss off the triads, they'll shoot you on sight every time you pass their turf. And Mallory manages to do them a solid and help Nico get some work. Time to go meet some new and exciting characters.
How'd I look, man?
You look good.
Do I look gay?
No, not at all. It's a very manly kind of dance.
Okay, so here we go then. Yeah. See, it's the streets, man. But people gotta understand the struggles. For real, you know what I'm saying? They gotta understand the struggles, yeah.
First is Manny Escuela, former gangbanger now turned community activist. He sees himself as a vigilante and a savior of the streets, wanting to clean up South Bohan and get rid of its drug dealers, which he employs Nico in helping him out with. But he's completely full of shit, and really it's all about fame and stardom for him, bringing his cameraman around with them to try and sell a TV show, and claiming credit for the work he pays Nico to do. First job is hunting down some local drug dealers, following them to their hangout in a soda factory, and naturally, taking them all out. Next, he introduces us to Detective Francis McCreary, and has us take out some gangbangers in a garage, the game teaching us how to drive by. Though by this point, I've had to shoot and chase after targets several times, so it's kinda weird the game only properly teaches a player how to drive by now, several hours in. While helping the savior of the streets, I went back to do some more work for Brucey. First, we kill a guy who owes him money.
Lyle Rivas, I got a message from Brucey for you.
Brucey? I thought he was fucking joking. Shit!
Steal a nice ride for him. Catfish some guy on the internet in order to kill him.
Hey, are you my date? Thank God.
And hey, is this Nikocado avocado?
I love cheese.
And finally, get into a street race. And despite how I whined about the driving before, the comment we used for the race handled really well and made the race pretty easy. Too bad this car is way too nice, and I don't want it destroyed, so I just parked it in front of my apartment and never used it again. Does anyone else have that problem in GTA games? I swear, it's like the whole can't use an elixir in RPGs just in case you need it problem. But then you end up with dozens of elixirs by the time you fight the final boss.
It's lonely at the top. Sometimes the juice, it just takes control. Okay, red mist descends, and I need shit to happen to people.
Are you talking about fucking roid rage? Is that why I killed those men?
Oh, they were bad cats, Nicky.
While talking to Brucey, it turns out that most of the unnecessary violence he had you commit may have been roid rage induced. Oh, Brucey. With that, Nico and Brucey end their professional relationship. But you can still call him up to hang out and for more street races. Returning to Bohan, Mallory introduces us to another friend of hers, and thankfully one who isn't annoying like Manny, Elizabeta Torres. She's running a massive drug operation in Bohan, cutting deals with different groups around the city, along with introducing us to characters we'll be working with in the future. First job has Nico working with Packy McCreary, and has him overseeing a drug deal he's handling. And when things inevitably go south, he needs to protect them using a sniper rifle. I'll talk more about Packy when we get to his missions. Next up, Elizabeta gets us in contact with Johnny Klebitz, VP of the Lost in the Damned Biker Club, and the main character of the Lost in the Damned DLC. I'll be honest, there isn't really much to Johnny's character here. They don't really flesh him out till the DLC, and he might as well be a disposable NPC during the 2 missions he shows up for in the main game. Along for the ride this mission is Playboy X, friend of Elizabeta, and head of his own drug operation. Playboy X has built himself a good lifestyle thanks to the drug game. Owning an impressive penthouse, the kid has dreams of even more wealth, wanting to go legit someday, and eventually give back to the people. But as Nico points out, he can already do that if he wanted to. In reality, Playboy X isn't really all that different from Manny, but I'll talk about him more later. The trio do a heroin deal with a buyer Elizabeta has some misgivings about. Arriving at the meeting place, the buyers immediately give themselves up as LCPD.
Got the heroin, correct? You're carrying it, correct? I mean, it's a simple question.
What's wrong with you? You're being fucking weird.
Not weird, man. I just want to know if you're carrying the stuff, right?
You ain't right, friend. Come on, let's get out of here.
LCPD! Freeze, motherfucker! I said freeze!
The feds come down hard, with Johnny disappearing and leaving Nico and Playboy X to fight their way out and escape. This one can be tough as there are swarms of cops everywhere. They tend to have a good vantage point every time you ascend a floor, and some are rocking body armor, making them harder to gun down. Once you get Playboy back to his penthouse, he'll call Nico later for some work. Around this time, a question mark will pop up on the map, and heading over to it, we meet up with Francis McCreary. I don't really know why they bothered to mark him off with a question mark, considering we already met him through Manny. When I saw it, at first I thought it was the assassination missions being unlocked, But that's not till later, and it uses a different symbol. Typical of any police officer in a GTA game, Francis is less than squeaky clean, as he needs Nico's help in silencing someone who has evidence on his nefarious deeds. Nico needs to meet the blackmailer in a public spot and call him, using the phone call to try and figure out who he is in the crowd. It's an interesting gimmick, but just feels pointless as it's pretty easy to figure out who he is. That mission where you have to kill some terrorist leader in GTA 5 did it a lot better, as you had to use more clues to narrow down the suspect at a house party, instantly fail if you kill the wrong target, and fail if you kill the right target without the corresponding information first. Missions for Francis usually have you covering up loose ends to cover his ass, like interviewing at a law firm, killing the lawyer who has dirt on Francis, and stealing the evidence. Or killing some gangbangers who know about his corruption. The choice system will pop up again here, as you can choose to spare Clarence Little instead of killing him for Francis. Though if you do spare him, and run into him later, he'll still try and kill Nico. So really, your choice doesn't do much outside of delaying Clarence's inevitable death. During this time, Elizabetha will call up angry, arguing with Lil Jacob on the other end, asking Nico to come through and mediate, as apparently he's the only person who actually understands Lil Jacob. Once you meet up with them, it turns out that Lil Jacob was ripped off during a drug deal. The guy running off with Elizabetha's coke. Go out and find those responsible, put them 6 feet under, and recover the coke to give to Jacob. When we meet him though, it turns out he's not alone.
Jacob, what are you talking about? You know, I think you're smoking too much.
Yo, me think me know the eater come from in a king.
Hey, Nico. Hey, Jacob.
What are you doing here? This is no place for you, Michelle.
As it happens, it is. You see, Nico, I have been working for the government. I'm afraid it's my job to watch you. And now I have to ask you for the coke.
This is a joke, right?
Please, please don't make this harder for me than it already is.
I have to say, Michelle being a Fed is a pretty good reveal. There's some small hints about something being off with her when you first go out on a date with her. Her immediate interest in Nico, the fact all of her furniture still have price tags on them, and a phone call with her that may sound like she's concerned about who Nico is working for, but actually sounds more like she's fishing for information when you listen to it again.
Hey, Nico. Mallory tells me you are working with Elizabeth and George now.
Do you two know each other? Elizabetha seems to have a lot of friends.
That's because she's a dealer, Nico. Junkies like the people who supply them with drugs. You aren't getting involved in that world, are you?
I'm trying to avoid it, Michelle. Maybe I do a few errands for Elizabeth. Nothing serious, though. I am no dealer.
If you need help with anything, Nico, just speak to me. If you want to get something off your chest, I'm a good listener, you know?
I know, Michelle. I really appreciate your concern, but I can look after myself.
Nico is obviously hurt by the betrayal and his relationship with Michelle just being a lie. But the relationship wasn't really fleshed out, mainly because you only have one required mission with Michelle, your first date with her. Outside of the occasional call, Nico never interacts with her unless you take her out on dates, so we never get a feeling for how much Nico does or doesn't care about her. And hours of game time will go by without anyone so much as mentioning her. Hell, she doesn't even call Nico as often as his other friends do. Sure hope that same problem doesn't pop up again. Michelle will let both Nico and Lil Jacob go after taking the coke off them, warning Nico that Elizabetha is about to go down, and also that her employers will be in touch. Heading back to Elizabetha, shit has indeed hit the fan, as it turns out her bodyguard turned on her, and the police are closing in. She's obviously not in a good state of mind. All the coke she's snorting is not helping matters, which is why it's perfect timing for our good buddy Manny to show up. An idiotic, self-serving, fake vigilante antagonizing a coked-up drug dealer and pointing a camera in her face? It ends about as well as you would expect.
Now leave my people alone! Yo, Nico, what are you doing here?
I am not in the mood for this right now!
Adios, Manny. Elizabetha has Nico toss their bodies into her car, and he delivers their corpses to some back alley doctor, who plans to sell their organs on the streets.
Fine. Can I leave you with these or what?
Sure. I'll have these organs out on the street in no time. They're gonna help a lot of folks.
He'd been trying to help the streets his whole life. Maybe he'll actually be doing it now.
And that's the end of Elizabeta's criminal activities, as she gets picked up by the cops off-screen, and apparently ends up getting 300 years in jail. Yikes. Remember, kids, say no to drugs. You know, I have to say, she's a terrible drug dealer. Every single one of her deals went bad. How she ever rose to power is beyond me. Saying goodbye to the streets of Bohan, it's time to head up to North Holland to help out Playboy X. He's chilling at his crib, and as he goes over the details of the job, we're also introduced to his friend and mentor, Dwayne Forge. Dwayne was the original leader of the drug operation Playboy X inherited, teaching him everything about dealing before he ended up in jail. Now that he's out though, he's finding it tough to adapt to the outside, feeling his friends, Playboy included, abandoned him during his time inside. Nico, having spent some time in jail himself, and being an immigrant in a new country, sympathizes with Dwayne, forming a friendship with him and working with him too. Playboy's mission will have Nico killing mobsters at a construction site in order to assist and impress the construction site's owner, Yusuf Amir. And later on, Playboy will have Nico kill some random drug dealer who has been disrespecting him. Meanwhile, Dwayne's missions have him trying to piece together his old life. First by confronting his ex-girlfriend, who cheated on him while he was locked up, using the money he sent her for rent to give to her new boyfriend instead. Nico will get the money back and be given the choice to spare Dwayne's ex or not. Nothing changes whether you do or don't kill her, but Dwayne is relieved if you do spare a life. Afterwards, Nico will help Dwayne take control of the old strip club he used to own, by killing its current owners. During these missions, a rift will begin to grow between Playboy X and Dwayne, especially since the owners of the strip club that Nico killed were business associates of Playboy. The distrust between the two gets so big that eventually Playboy outright asks Nico to kill Dwayne. You're now given a choice on who to kill. While I've been dismissive of player choices up until now, this one does feel like it has a little bit of weight to it. If you go after Dwayne, he lets Nico do it without much of a fight, though he's still pretty hurt that Nico sided against him, having become suicidally depressed on the outside. Dwayne accepts his death, while Nico clearly struggles with carrying out what he has to do, later on calling Roman for reassurance on the choice he's made. Even Playboy X doesn't feel good about it, paying Nico 25 G's, but being so guilt-ridden, he cuts ties with Nico. However, I chose to go after Playboy X instead, fighting through his goons at his penthouse, and eventually killing him in an alleyway. Nico will now call up Dwayne and let him know what happened, the old guy pitying his protege for how far he'd fallen. Dwayne then gives Nico the deed to Playboy's penthouse, and becomes an optional friend to hang out with. If you get his friendship high enough, it unlocks the ability to call in some gangbangers as backup during missions. While Playboy isn't an outright bad guy, the game more or less steers you in this direction to kill him over Dwayne, as the reward of a new safe house is much better than the money, especially since the amount of safe houses you have in this game drop considerably compared to San Andreas. You know, I think I need a break. Maybe I should call up Roman and go bowling.
Nico, I think Roman has been kidnapped. I heard he owes some Russians money. A friend of mine saw him at that card club on Helm Point.
He owed them money?
He never tells me anything. I heard they took him to a warehouse off Lompoc and Bohan Industrial.
I'll check it out.
God damn it, Roman. This whole rescue mission is such a pain. There's just so many Russians, and every single one of them abuses cover constantly. It's not hard, it just feels like it goes on forever. Once Roman is saved, the two have a heart-to-heart over the dangers of online gambling. Things aren't all bad, though. Right around this time, Roman gets a huge payout from the insurance company thanks to his cab depot burning down. He starts up his business again, and buys an upscale apartment in Algonquin for the both of them. Looks like the cousins Bellic are really moving up in the world. Around this time, Packy will call up offering some work, inviting Nico to his place and introducing him to his family.
All I'm saying is that we'll all be judged in the end. All of your brothers. And you, Patrick. And you, Kate.
Who's gonna judge Kate? What would she win if they did? Virgin of the Year?
I'm thinking maybe you can catch VD for both
Fuck
of us,
you,
Patrick.
Katie.
Language.
Sorry, Ma. Ho, there he is. Mr. fucking Crazy Man. You want a beer?
No.
Good. Cause I ain't fucking got none.
Very funny. Maybe if being a drunkard doesn't work out, you can be a comedian.
Fuck off. And you, Kate, fuck off out of here.
But aren't you going to introduce us?
Sure. This is Nico, some drug-dealing degenerate from some armpit in Eastern Europe. That's my ma.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
And this is my sister. Lovely lass, scared to bits of life. And fucking off out of here right now before I throw a fucking bottle at her.
Patrick.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. See you around.
Is that sparks I'm seeing developing between Nico and Kate? Sure hope he isn't shoehorned into another shallow relationship the game wants us to care about. The first mission with Packy has you fight through a triad-controlled warehouse to steal a truck full of drugs and deliver them to Packy's associate, Ray Buccino. The next mission will have Nico, Packy, and 2 of his friends breaking into and robbing a depot belonging to the Ancelotti family, shooting your way through the mobsters before making a getaway by boat. Afterwards, Packy will ask Nico to take his sister out on a date. Despite his blessing to start wooing his sister, Nico's got to revisit his old flame first.
Look, I'm not in the business of caring about people's feelings, bud. Yeah? Boo fucking who?
Hey.
Hi.
Listen, I know what you must be thinking, but don't bother.
I'm sorry, but I don't see how you know what I must be thinking.
You've killed people. You should be dead yourself. Or inside. You're just lucky it was me and not someone else who got their hooks into you. I'm sorry that I lied to you. And weirdly, in some ways, you're a nice guy. Better than the creeps I normally date.
After a less than amicable conversation, Michelle, or should I say Karen, introduces Nico to her boss. He doesn't give his name or the government group he works for, though it's apparently the Internal Affairs Agency, the GTA world's equivalent to the CIA. They're using United Liberty Paper as a front, working to weed out terrorist elements in Liberty City and recruit Nico's help whether he likes it or not. But he does dangle a pretty good carrot in front of Nico, the chance to find the man who betrayed his squad. Missions for the feds are the standard fare of go here and kill this guy. But the second mission for them is kinda interesting. Not the gameplay of the mission itself, but more so its outcome. As if you kill the intended target before killing all of his guards, one of the guards will drop his gun and surrender, giving you the choice to spare him. It's really weird, the guy doesn't have any dialogue and I thought it was a glitch at first. And it really doesn't matter if you do or you don't kill him, but it does make me wonder if this is some kind of artifact of something bigger Rockstar had planned. Maybe missions weren't meant to be so scripted. Instead of having to kill dozens of guys along with their boss, maybe you could skip the hassle if you managed to kill your intended target first. Their goons just running off afterwards. It certainly would have been appreciated, cause good god are these missions overly scripted. But while we're talking about the quality of missions in this game, let's move on and talk about what most consider the best mission in all of GTA 4. It starts with Packy introducing Nico to his older brothers Gerald and Derek, who we'll get to know more when we work for them later. Also, I forgot to mention it before, but Francis McCreary is also their brother, the black sheep of the family who chose to be a crooked cop instead of just a regular crook. The mission this time is to rob a bank, teaming up with Derek, Packy, and Packy's friend Michael to storm the bank, take out the guards, blow the vault, and walk away with the cash.
Now listen, people. We're your friends. Me and me brother here.
Why are you telling them we're brothers, you idiot? That's gonna make it hard for them to find us, isn't it?
I'm trying to be honest with these people. We put them through a lot today.
Fuck these people, fuck your cause. That shit's over. Ireland's not the only thing that's green. Dollars are too.
Now you said bloody Ireland. That's gonna narrow the search, ain't it?
Fuck you! Take the needle out your arm, then tell me what to do.
I'll let you tell me what to do when you stop shoving half of Bolivia up your nose every Saturday night.
Motherfucker! Fuck! We told you not to fuck with us! Shit! Michael! Saint fucking Michael!
Naturally, things don't really go as planned. After some guy tries to play hero and wastes Michael, things quickly go off the rails. While they manage to grab as much cash as they can, they've set off the bank's alarm, summoning every cop in Liberty City. Now they have to fight their way out, first clearing the bank entrance of cops, before running and gunning through back alleys. With a chopper on them, they have to go underground through the subway to get away. again fighting through waves of police. Once back on the surface, it's all about stealing a ride and losing the wanted level. And I don't know, I'm not so sure this mission is as great as some people feel it is. Sure, the setup is great, especially since the whole heist is a reference to the movie Heat, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. Fighting your way out of the bank and trying to escape isn't really all that different from a lot of other missions you've completed by now. Now, to be fair, I won't compare it to the heists in GTA 5, as those were born from the popularity of this mission, and obviously had more thought and planning put into their design. But I will compare it to the bank heist from Vice City. Before the heist in that game can even begin, Tommy has to recruit a crew to get the job done. Once they hit the bank, Tommy and Cam will have to unlock the safe, needing the bank manager's help in getting it done. With the vault cracked and the money in hand, someone will hit the alarm and the place immediately gets swarmed, the crew now needing to get away. So while both missions follow the same beats, the execution is a lot different, with Tommy being more active in the actual robbery part, as opposed to Nico, who just grabs the money once Derek blows the vault. And once the police swoop in, you actually see SWAT members dropping into the bank on ropes, instead of just waiting outside to shoot you. Now, I don't hate this mission at all. As a set piece, it really is a lot of fun. Shooting cops in the street, trying to outrun a chopper, and then making your escape through the subway. The real problem is that it's just as scripted as any other mission in this game. There's no way to do things differently or end the mission a different way. Just the path the devs laid out for you. A problem that unfortunately goes on to plague more Rockstar games going forward. After the heist, you can hang out with Packy in your spare time, and if you get his friendship up high enough, he can rig cars with car bombs. The entire map will now be completely unlocked to explore, and Nico can start working with Gerald and Derek, along with Ray Buccino. Gerald is the leader of the Mercury family mob, though technically his group is only made up of him and his brothers. His first two missions will have you destroy relations with the Ancelotti family and the Albanians. Afterwards, he gets picked up by the cops and sent to jail on racketeering charges. As for Derek, well, it seems he's really fallen off the wagon after the heist, as we find him on a park bench drunk and high out of his mind. Apparently, he's been wrestling with his past ever since he got back to Liberty City, and an old buddy of his, Buddy Sligo, threatening to kill Derek and his family. Since he's too fucked up to do anything about it, it's up to Nico to hunt the guy down and kill him and his buddies. Later on, we have to silence another old friend of his, Aiden O'Malley, who's planning to snitch on Derek to the cops in exchange for a lighter prison sentence. With Packy's help, we intercept his prison convoy, break him out of custody, and then put a bullet in him. Aiden none the wiser it was actually a hit job and not a prison break. Also, it turns out that Derek was lying the whole time. His backstory is broken up between encounters with himself, Packy, and Francis. Derek, Buddy, and Aiden all served in the Provisional IRA together before coming to the States. While here, the trio engaged in several violent heists, apparently robbing the mob until being caught by the cops. Derek snitched on the other two, and the guilt of betraying his friends, along with being a rat, turned him into a drug addict. And instead of seeking forgiveness or admitting his betrayal, he chose to bury the past and hide what he had done. I really enjoy this twist. It makes Derek a much more complex character compared to the people we've worked for before, but I don't think the game does enough with him. And while the player can piece together the clues that Derek wasn't being truthful, Nico and Packy never figure it out, so there really aren't any consequences to his lie, though I can see it influencing a certain player choice later on. Next up is Ray Buccino, who Packy had done a couple jobs for previously. He's a capo in the Pegorino crime family, and is desperate to prove himself to his bosses and climb up the ranks in the family. But unfortunately for him, everyone can smell his desperation, and his obnoxiousness only gets him mocked by the ones he's trying to impress. Ray's mission mostly deals with the Diamond storyline that end up connecting the main story with the two DLCs. The first part has Nico and Ray's goons dressed as garbage men and picking up the diamonds hidden in trash. His second mission will have Nico hunt down those same goons after they stole some of the diamonds for themselves. During this time, Nico's patience is really tested, not just because Ray is annoying, but because all the work he's doing isn't getting him any closer to his goal of finding the guy who betrayed his squad. It eventually boils over to the point he refuses to keep working with Ray, unless he can guarantee he can find the man he's looking for, Florian Kravich. Ray gives his word, but needs Nico to head to the Libertonian Museum first, to unload the diamonds with the help of Johnny.
Gentlemen, pardon the precautions. You know how things are.
No problem.
Let's do this!
Okay, let's see the stuff, gentlemen. Maury, come over here.
Whoa. Since we're having a little show and tell, let's see some money.
Of course, no problem. There it is. Beautiful, huh? Unmarked bills. No history, no need to launder.
Good. Nico, show him the stuff.
Get in there, Maury.
Isaac, look at them.
Gorgeous, huh? Like condensed money.
Isaac, these are great.
Oh! Rest of you motherfuckers wanna die? Do something stupid, okay? Fuck you! Just get the shit, man! Come on!
During the exchange with the Jewish mob, Luis Lopez, main character of the Ballad of Gay Tony, crashes the party. He kills one of the Jewish mobsters and takes the diamonds. Meanwhile, Johnny makes away with the cash, leaving Nico to fight his way out of the museum. You know, the setup for this mission is so awkward. I know it's meant to be the key that connects all of the lead's stories, but playing it for the first time, you're just left scratching your head wondering what's going on. While you technically saw Luis before during the bank heist, he didn't actually do anything outside of trying to talk that one guy out of shooting Nico and the crew. So him showing up here out of nowhere raises more questions. Like how he knew when and where the deal was taking place and who he might be working for. And once again, Johnny disappears as soon as shit hits the fan. Was it really that hard to just have him fight his way out with Nico? I know the DLC fills in the blanks, but if this is your first time playing GTA 4, or you just never play the DLC, it just feels like there's cut content missing. It weirdly reminds me of the vanilla release of Final Fantasy 15. During that game, at certain points, members of Noctis's group disappear for random story reasons. But we never actually see what they were doing. And they come back having some off-screen character development, but they don't actually explain what the hell happened. Like GTA 4, you only got the full picture by buying the DLC related to those characters. Or if you bought the Royale version later on. Though it's arguably way worse than Final Fantasy 15 since Gladio, Ignis, and Prompto are your main party members for the entire game, so them disappearing for a few hours with barely any explanation ended up making the experience really disjointed. Rockstar must have felt the same way about the way they handled the leads, which is why we got 3 leads in GTA 5, slowly unlocking each one, giving them their own stories before bringing them together, along with using the character switching system to swap between them when the player feels like it. While I was a bit critical about GTA 5 way back at the beginning of the video, I'll give Rockstar credit for fixing issues from GTA 4, even if not everything lands.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
The diamonds being stolen have put Ray Buccino in a bad spot, as this huge blunder is just another mark against him in the eyes of his bosses. But despite the huge cock-up, he does honor his word and puts Nico in contact with someone who knows how to find Florian Kravitch. Nico calls up Roman to come with him to confront Florian, and once they get there, they don't exactly find what they were expecting.
Nico, be calm! Be calm!
Fuck! Calm! Florian! Oddesam zbog tebe, drgađior! Otvori! Florian! I've come for you, Florian!
Oh! Go away!
Florian. Jesi to ti?
Nico? What the hell are you doing here?
What happened to you?
Oh, I started working out. You know, toned up the,
Florian? You used to work in the abattoir?
Oh, don't remind me. Roman? You put on a few vanity pounds.
What are you guys doing here? Why did you kick my door down?
I've come to ask you some questions.
It wasn't you, was it?
What wasn't me?
Who set us up? It was you or Darko. I thought it must be him.
As it turns out, Florian is no longer the man Nico remembers, having completely transformed himself when coming to Liberty City, becoming Bernie Crane and no longer having to hide his homosexuality. The confrontation between the two reveals that the traitor must be Darko Brevic, who could be anywhere in Eastern Europe. This leaves Nico shook up, as the time and work he put in Liberty City almost feels like it was for nothing, now that he knows Florian wasn't the traitor. And while he knows that it's Darko he's after, without his exact location, he won't be able to go after him and get his revenge. Nico doesn't pout for long though, as the contact with United Liberty Paper reaches out.
So I hear you found the big bad monster you were on. Bernie Crane, the muscle Mary? Come on.
Fuck you.
You think I wouldn't have fingered him in a second if he was your guy?
You could have told me he was here.
I'm helping you find the man you're after. I'm not some reunite old boyfriend service. Look, I was in the army. I know it gets lonely. I know what it feels like to get close to a man.
I'm sure you do, but you said you'd help me.
I've already helped you, but I'll help you again. Wait for me to be in touch.
While he's more or less been a dismissive asshole the whole time we've worked for him, and I'm not 100% sure everyone we've killed for him actually deserved it, the old guy promises Nico he'll do what he can to find Darko. Around this time, Nico will receive a call from Francis McCreary, who thinks his brother Derek is going to sell him out to a news reporter about his corruption, in order to continue feeding his drug habit. He arranges a meeting with his brother, and wants Nico to kill him. While prepping for the mission, Derek will call too, feeling he's being set up and asking Nico to kill Francis instead. So you'll be given a choice on which brother to take out. Taking out Derek pays $10K, or $20K if you call Francis to blackmail him while on the roof, with the ability to lose your wanted level up to 3 stars anytime you call him. While killing Francis only really rewards a friendship bonus with Packy. Again, it doesn't really change anything outside of which brother gets buried in the next mission, with the surviving brother disappearing from the plot soon after. While Francis does offer the better deal, Derek is just so pitiful I ended up putting a bullet through Francis instead. With McCreary blood on his hands, now is a perfect opportunity to take out Kate and get to know her better.
Top, no nice way to say this. It's not really working. I'm not really feeling the pants. I'm not really feeling the shoes.
What do you use?
Jeez, Kate, what the hell? Why are you so damn shallow? Kate is a little more fleshed out compared to the plank of wood Michelle was when dating her. She's the voice of reason and the innocent one in her family of criminals, taking care of their mother while her brothers do jail stints. Also, she thinks Nico is really nice and should give up the criminal life and settle down one day. And that's about it. There's just no chemistry with these two. Their friends and family act like they belong together, but why? Because they made googly eyes at each other in one cinematic, and that's it? Like how I complained about Michelle earlier, the player isn't going to care about Kate unless you give us some kind of reason to. We've worked for all her brothers at this point. Why not a few missions with her? Obviously, she won't have Nico killing people for petty reasons, but it's not hard to come up with something. Use those missions to grow and explore the relationship. Or just have her show up in more missions. Maybe trying to talk Nico out of doing a job. Or Nico just coming to her for moral support after shit goes bad. The dialogue with her during dates just doesn't really cut it. When it comes right down to it, the game ships these two together for only one reason. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Florian, open the door. Nemo desipeder.
Govor Ingleski, and I told you it's Bernie.
Despite kicking in his door and threatening his life, Florian,
Bernie!
Right, Bernie, sorry, is pretty chill about the whole ordeal and tries to make friends with Nico. On the surface, Bernie is basically every gay stereotype rolled into one. Effeminate voice and mannerisms, always talking about clothing, men, or brunch, secretly dating a conservative man in a position of power. You know, the usual stuff. But dig a little deeper, and there's an actual character behind all the gay jokes. Like Nico and Darko, he's the only other survivor of the ambush that killed their army squadron. While Nico became obsessed with revenge, going down a life of crime and never getting over what happened, Bernie used that traumatic event to start his life over and embrace who he really is. He'll initially call Nico for help dealing with some homophobe who's been harassing him at the park.
I'm about done with you, homo!
Why don't you pick on someone who'll fight back?
What's your problem, fag lover?
Whatever you say, buddy. Unfortunately, for hitting my friend, I'm going to kick the shit out of you.
And having to deal with Dimitri's men who are trying to blackmail Bryce Dawkins.
Where's Bryce? We wanted to speak to him, not his rent boys.
By exposing his relationship with Bernie. But for his last mission, he'll want to take Nico out on a picnic on a boat.
I'm so excited!
What are we doing here?
We're going to have fun!
Fun?
Yes! It's a 4-letter word, I know, but we can still try.
Look, more people want me dead than alive. I'm working for the Mafia. The police and the government agency are both on my case. I kill and steal to scrape together a living so that my cousin can fritter it away online and pay off debts. And all the while, people are trying to kill us. What is fun?
Honey, you are stressed.
Seeing as how Nico is the only person who knows both sides of Bernie, and that he can see his old friend is majorly stressed out, he hopes their picnic date can help him relax a little bit. Unfortunately, Dimitri's men end up ruining their time together. Fucking Dimitri. While their time together really doesn't help Nico all that much, he is starting to consider letting go of his past and trying to move on. And Bernie does do him a solid by giving him Bryce's Infernus sports car. And once again, I park it in front of the house and do absolutely nothing with it. From here, we're slowly circling the end of the game, with only a handful of missions for some new and old associates left. First, we're back to working for Gerald McCreary, this time taking orders from him while he's in jail. He'll have Nico kidnap Gracie Ancelotti, estranged daughter of Giovanni Ancelotti, head of the Ancelotti crime family. He plans to ransom her to her father, in exchange for the diamonds that were stolen earlier. Later on, once her dad agrees to the terms, he sends Luis and Gay Tony to facilitate the exchange. But like every mission involving these diamonds, things don't go smoothly.
Nika Bellic, how is it? That whenever something is stolen from me, you're not far away.
I have never stolen anything from you, Mr. Bulgarin.
This man, the big Pedic and his Dominican beach, they stole my diamonds. And you have been trying to rob the thieves, to rob me. Conchais!
I don't care what you did to that man, but we ain't leaving here without them diamonds.
As Bulgarin shows up again, disrupting the deal and claiming the diamonds belonged to him in the first place. Cue another long, drawn-out shooting sequence, where Nico and Packy fight off Bulgarin's goons and end up losing the diamonds yet again. You know, Bulgarin is a complete waste of a character in this game. For someone who has a massive history with Nico, and is partially responsible for him running to America, he only shows up twice over the game. And yeah, I know they bring him back for the Ballad of Gay Tony, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense that you'd shift him from being Nico's personal enemy to Louise. While it's extremely predictable, I always assumed it would take the course of Nico taking out Dimitri, and with Bulgarin more or less serving as the final boss. But nope, he just shows up, says some mean things to Nico, and disappears from the plot. With the diamond exchange a bust, we say our goodbyes to Gerald, who's looking at a very long prison sentence. Our old pal Ray Buccino will call up and put Nico in direct contact with his boss, Jimmy Pegorino. Jimmy is desperate to gain the approval and acknowledgement of the Commission, a group made up of the 5 most powerful mafia families in Liberty City. His missions are mostly about trying to gain a seat at the table with the other families. First by trying to make an offering to the Pavano family. The mission, like several of them at this point, will have Nico watching over the exchange in case things go bad. And I'm extremely embarrassed to admit this, but I wasted so much time trying to figure out how to get to the vantage point. My dumbass not realizing I was supposed to go through a door the mission spawned me in front of. As always, things do indeed go wrong. Nico having to snipe a few Pavano goons before going down on foot to save Jimmy. But we still have to get the offering for the Pavanos back, having to chase after them while dodging a swarm of bullets. And if there isn't a better example of Rockstar's scripted bullshit, then it's this mission. You can't just shoot at them to take out their tires or kill the driver. You instead have to follow them so they crash, and then you can kill them. Shooting at their car too much can cause Nico to destroy the offering of cash. Somehow. So it ends up dragging out what's already a very long and annoying mission. Afterwards, Jimmy will want payback, and have Nico follow a high-ranking Pavano member and kill him with a ton of his goons. As things go on, the situation gets increasingly worse for Jimmy, as he loses more and more respect from the commission, and as it turns out, the feds are onto him, with several of his crew turning rat. First is his personal bodyguard, Anthony, who we've seen him verbally abuse several times now. Jimmy confronts him and ends up giving the guy a heart attack. But since it's no guarantee he'll die, Nico has to get into the hospital to finish him off. This mission does give you some wiggle room to approach it a little bit differently, as you can find some nurses' scrubs to sneak into his room and disconnect his life support, as opposed to doing what I did.
I started blasting. Bang! 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 Try to shoot him in the back.
Afterwards, Jimmy points the finger at Ray Buccino as another rat and wants him dealt with too. So I'll be honest, I didn't really think much of going after Ray at first. With the way everyone belittles him and looks down on him, along with his drive to impress his bosses when you first meet him, him being a rat would make sense if he hit his breaking point, and realized it's just not worth the hassle of working for an ungrateful asshole like Jimmy. But as I went back through my footage while writing the script, I kind of realized there wasn't anything that actually pointed to Ray being a rat. The implications are sorta there, but really you're just taking it at Jimmy's word, and Nico not really liking Ray in the first place, so he doesn't have much reason to question Jimmy's orders. The game never really answers this question one way or the other, but it paints a picture of Jimmy becoming increasingly paranoid and desperate, someone Nico really needs to start questioning his loyalty to. While working for Jimmy, the shady government guy that Nico's been working with will put him in contact with the Gambetti crime family, run by the aging and in poor health John Gravelli. His missions will have Nico protect a politician giving a speech about the increasing gang violence from foreign gangs in the city, destroying a counterfeit money operation, and destroying drug vans belonging to the Ancelotti crime family, supplied by our good old friend Dimitri. All this work finally gets Nico what he wants, as Darko Brevich will be smuggled into the country for him. Once he gets the call, Nico picks up Roman and heads to the meeting place to confront Darko over what he did all those years ago.
You remember me?
Pussy me. Не познаете. I don't know you.
Yes, you do. I'm the one who survived.
Nico. Hello.
Reci mi zašto.
Zašto?
Zato što smo bili prijatelji. Svi smo odrasli zajedno. Mitar, Dragan, Goran, Mio. Mogu da nastavim. Sviju, a?
We were friends, but I had other friends. Friends that Goran and his guys killed. My fucking neighbors! Because of what? Because of shit. Lies. Fucking lies.
So that makes it okay to stab your friends in the back?
When everything you believe is shown to be shit, you make strange choices.
Fuck you! Strange choices? How much?
1,000.
You killed my friends for $1,000.
How much do you charge to kill someone?
You ruined me, you fuck!
I needed the money. I had problems.
You're a fucking junkie!
Kill me, Dan! You fucking hypocrite. Trust me. You'll be doing me a favor. Ah!
Out of the 3 survivors of the ambush, Darko was the one who had it the worst, betraying his friends for a measly $1,000 just to feed his drug habit. He explains that his betrayal wasn't all about the drugs, as apparently a few members of his squad had killed his friends and neighbors, making him question his loyalty during the war. Roman tries to get Nico to let Darko go. As the pathetic state he's in, living with his guilt feels like a more fitting punishment. Nico will now have a choice in whether to kill or spare Darko. Kill him, and Nico will empty 12 bullets into Darko, one for each of their squad mates he betrayed, with the man thanking Nico as he dies, the whole experience leaving Nico empty. But spare him, and he'll take off running, never to be heard or seen again. And with that, Nico finally lets go of his past and agrees with Roman that this is a much better punishment for Darko. As Nico prepares to move on with his life, Roman lets him know he's proposed to Mallory, with the 2 of them planning to get married soon. With that, Nico has just one job left to go, before wrapping this story up in a tight little bow and living happily ever after. But things are never that easy, are they? Here we are, boys and girls, the end of the game. If you want to avoid spoilers for both endings, skip to this timestamp here. Jimmy Pegorino will call up Nico, wanting him to facilitate a heroin deal between some buyers and the Russians. His final chance at trying to get on the commission. Unfortunately, that means working directly with that snake Dimitri. Nico argues against it, asking Pegorino to find someone else instead, as there's no way he can cut a deal with Dimitri with the past the 2 share. Jimmy doesn't want to hear it though, demanding Nico take part. At first threatening him, but softening up a bit, and telling him Phil Bell will mostly be handling the deal, and he won't even have to deal with Dimitri. Phil being someone I completely skipped over, but he works for Pegorino, is his only loyal capo left, and may or may not be having an affair with Pegorino's wife. Nico reluctantly agrees, and is called by Roman and Kate afterwards. Roman is ecstatic about the deal, under the belief that Nico and Dimitri have made peace, and lets slip Dimitri's current location. Despite everything that Dimitri has done to him, Roman is willing to let all of that go from the money that can be earned from the deal. While talking to Kate, Nico will explain his misgivings about the deal and not wanting to break the oath he made about going after Dimitri. While she doesn't know the whole situation, Kate advises Nico to stick to his principles and forget about the money. You're now given one last choice, and probably the only one that actually matters in the whole game. Make the deal or get revenge. First, let's go with the ending I didn't choose, making the deal.
Big Phil, what's up?
We're going to Port Tudor. Let's move.
Nico will pick up Phil and head to the warehouse where they're supposed to pick up the money, after Dimitri has sold the heroin. Once inside, Dimitri will call up and reveal that he's killed the buyers and kept the heroin, telling Nico he should try his luck at getting the money if he can manage to survive. Pissed off, Nico and Phil do just that, fighting their way through to find the buyer with the money, eventually chasing him down and getting the cash. While pissed at yet again being betrayed by Dimitri, Nico decides he needs to let it go, taking his cut of the money and walking away from the criminal life. Pegorino later calls him up and thanks him for a good job, uncaring that Dimitri's betrayal almost killed Phil and Nico. We now skip to Roman and Mallory's wedding, the pair now starting a new chapter in their lives with friends and family cheering happily. I guess the real Grand Theft Auto 4 was the friends we made along the way.
Yes, thank you for coming. Okay. Yes. All right. Yes, okay.
Nico, brother. Yes?
Okay, thank you.
Gift from Dmitri Raskolov.
Oh my God!
Chabomba, Yo, Nico! Calm down, man, yo. Easy.
He told me to leave it. I left it.
Nico, get up, man, get up.
Oh,
Gotta
man.
get you out of here, man. Police them soon come. Don't worry, man. Me find Dimitri and me call you. Leave.
Okay.
Once again, Dmitri shows just how much of a snake he is, sending a hitman after Nico and getting Roman killed in the crossfire. Lil Jacob will reach out when he gets a beat on Dmitri, calling Nico when he's found one of Pegorino's boys, the pair following the car all the way to an old casino. Nico will now have to fight through an army of goons, but it's hard to say whether Jimmy Pegorino himself was even involved with the hit on Nico, as he's betrayed by Dmitri and killed before saying anything about it. Dmitri will try to escape by helicopter, Nico having to give chase by speedboat. Soon Lil Jacob will return, having somehow gotten a hold of an Apache helicopter. You'll now have to follow Dmitri all over Liberty City, trying to shoot him down and avoiding the rockets he's firing. Eventually Lil Jacob will get lucky with his shots, by which I mean you'll reach the scripted spot where Dimitri's helicopter gets shot down, your own helicopter going down with him. Both groups will land on Happiness Island. Nico will wipe out what's left of Dimitri's men, and finally put an end to that snake.
Welcome to America. Speak English. You're a strange man. You killed your best friend. You betrayed everyone who ever came in contact with you. You killed my cousin. I guess the survival of the fittest thing really meant a lot to you.
He'll reflect on how Roman didn't deserve what happened to him, and never hurt anyone, standing there and watching as Dmitri dies from his injuries. After the credits roll, Mallory will call, still devastated by the loss of Roman, and revealing she's pregnant, worried about raising their child all alone. But before we unpack this ending, let's roll things back and go over the choice I actually made, the revenge ending. Here, Nico, knowing full well Dmitri will most likely betray him, and Pegorino, decides to confront him and put an end to that snake once and for all. Nico will head to the docks where Dmitri and his operation is set up, fighting his way through a ship full of his goons, making his way to the controls to the hull below, opening a path and confronting Dmitri down below. Dmitri will beg to be spared, but Nico puts 2 shots in his knees before finishing him off once and for all.
I should have put you out of your misery a long time ago. Goodbye, Dmitri.
Returning home, Phil Bell will call up, agreeing with Nico's decision, but letting him know that Jimmy is falling apart, and that their crime family is done for. The next day, we'll have Nico go to Roman's wedding like before, but picking up Kate and driving her there on the way. It's happily ever after again.
Congratulations, cousin.
Thanks for coming.
All right, yes, okay. There we go. Okay, yes, we are married. Okay.
Come here,
You
fucking double-crossing immigrant shit!
Get on. Oh, come on out of this blood clot. Nico. Nico, come on. Oh, somebody call an ambulance. Call a fucking ambulance!
She's dead!
What? Oh, shit. Shit.
She told me to leave it. I thought I had. I thought it was over.
It's never over, Aya.
Nico, you can't blame yourself.
Of course I can. She's dead.
Easy, easy, your brother, man. Easy. Calm down, man. Calm down.
Nico, you have to get out of here.
Yes, go on, man. Go on, man. We have to leave, man. Just leave.
Get out of here.
Don't
Go.
worry, we take care of this, man.
Okay, okay.
Nope. This time Pegorino does the job himself, but ends up killing Kate instead of Nico. Like the first ending, the beats are mostly the same, with Lil Jacob once again helping and tracking down Pegorino's location. This time Roman will come too. Fight your way through the same building, and this time chase Pegorino by bike while he leaves on boat. Lil Jacob and Roman will show up on the helicopter again, and after leaping onto it, chase after Pegorino. The fight once again ends at Happiness Island, Nico picking off what's left of Pegorino's goons, and finally killing the bastard.
I told you to leave me alone.
I give the orders here. Me!
You're not looking so good there, Jimmy.
Screw you.
What the fuck did she ever do to you?
I wanted you, you immigrant dipshit.
Big talk. You want to know something funny?
Not really.
The commission, the old families, I know some of those guys. And they thought you were a fat fucking joke.
Whatever.
A joke!
He reflects on losing Kate, and after the credits, it will be Roman this time calling to reveal Mallory's pregnancy, offering his cousin his condolences and revealing he plans to name his child Kate if they have a girl. Packy will also call up, devastated at the loss of his sister, and worried about who will be there for his mother now that his brothers are either dead or locked up. So I have mixed feelings about both endings to GTA 4. As far as I know, neither ending is confirmed as canon, but I consider the deal ending the non-canon version for several reasons. The deal ending really has Nico go out of his way to act like an idiot, and just forget everything that Dimitri's done up until this point. While you could say the call from Roman was enough to sway him, or even his choice with what to do with Darko affected him, I don't think it's that easy. Dimitri has done absolutely nothing before this point to make us think he will change. Several times throughout the game, he's called to taunt Nico just for the hell of it. And after the initial betrayal, he still had Roman kidnapped and tortured by his goons, while trying to get Nico's location out of him. Not only that, but Nico has been actively antagonizing Dimitri as well, screwing up a lot of his drug operations and deals, especially towards the end of the game. There was absolutely no way either of them was going to let go of their history together. A fact that's proven when Dimitri screws over Nico again during the deal. Something that really should have solidified Nico going after him, as opposed to just letting it go and walking away from the life. It's hard to say where Jimmy Pegorino falls in line during this ending, but he knew from both Phil and Nico that Dimitri almost got them both killed, so there really shouldn't be any reason he trusts Dimitri either. You can argue he was blinded by the success of the mission and finally being on top again, but it still feels like a stupid move from him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he probably didn't know that Dimitri put a hit on Nico, but it's hard to believe he didn't know in some way, especially with Nico coming after his men. The revenge ending, meanwhile, has everyone behave exactly like you'd expect, with Nico going after Dimitri before he goes after him. And since this was Pegorino's chance to finally build up his crime family after all his losses, it makes perfect sense for his anger to drive him to want to kill Nico, even if it doesn't make the most sense that he'd do the job himself. But most likely he wanted the satisfaction of putting down the guy who screwed him over. Roman or Kate dying is obviously supposed to be ironic, the one who told Nico which option to choose, paying for those consequences. But Roman dying has way more weight to it than Kate dying. Roman has been with us through the beginning, his and Nico's relationship being built out throughout the game, with time and time again showing just how protective of Roman Nico is, and how much he regrets his criminal life screwing over Roman. And the game twists the knife further when we find out Mallory's pregnant, and Roman's child will grow up without their father. His death just has more weight to it. And once again, Nico's choices have negatively impacted Roman's life, in this case causing his death. But the Kate ending, on the other hand, just doesn't have the emotional impact. And that's because Kate is way too flat of a character. From the first scene she's introduced, the game is trying its absolute hardest to convince us that she and Nico belong together. Both of them take an immediate interest in each other, but for no real reason other than just being attracted to each other. Even if you do bother to take Kate out on dates, which again isn't mandatory, there just isn't much chemistry between the two. Conversations boiling down to Kate trying to get Nico to not be bad anymore, and Nico saying he doesn't know how to not be bad. I brought it up earlier, but there really should have been mandatory missions involving Kate. Or maybe she should have replaced Michelle completely, showing up way earlier in the game. That way, like Roman, the player can spend more time with her. We can watch her relationship with Nico grow, and see how his choices impact her life. As outside of murdering one of her brothers, which she doesn't know about, Nico's actions don't really affect Kate at all. Part of me thinks that Kate is used this way because Nico can date other girls he meets online, and still go to strip clubs. So maybe they didn't want to paint Nico as this unfaithful hypocrite if his relationship with Kate runs all game long, especially since Nico criticized Roman for cheating on Mallory. So while the game doesn't have a good or bad ending, I'd say it has more of a bad ending and a bittersweet ending, as it stings a lot less to lose Kate than it does to lose Roman. But having replayed the game yet again, it's time to answer the question I brought up back at the beginning. Was Grand Theft Auto 4 always a good game? Or did it just feel better because I didn't like GTA 5? Well, I think I have to lean more towards the former. It's by no means a masterpiece, but it's still up there in terms of quality. Ask anyone, even people who didn't enjoy the game, and chances are they'll still tell you this game had the best story out of the whole series. Actual work and effort was put into fleshing out Nico, his friends, and the people he'd be working for. It wasn't this random list of missions woven together to make a game. Nico's journey made sense based on the people he met and the choices he made. I won't act like it's the best story ever written, especially because of how both endings turn out, but it was much better than the previous trilogy, with GTA 3 being a basic revenge story at its core, Vice City just being Scarface the game before Scarface the game, and San Andreas combining a bunch of hood movies together, but lacking any of their seriousness. I think GTA 4's bigger problems are the things it left out and its missions. You couldn't customize Nico the same way you could CJ. You didn't have the option to buy safe houses across the map, and are limited to the 5 the game gives you. And this also limits the amount of cars you can hold on to, as the parking space outside of safe houses only let you park 2 cars at most. The weapon variety was boring compared to previous games. Once you get to your first gun shop, you're not really going to unlock any more interesting weapons, and outside of a few missions, most players are just going to stick to an assault rifle to end firefights fast. Planes were also gone, so you were stuck using a helicopter to fly around and take in the sights of Liberty City, which, like the cars, can be difficult to handle and get used to. But I think the missions are its biggest problems, as too many of them are the go here first, then go here, then kill this guy type of mission. And most are too scripted. Sometimes you can kill someone as they're driving away, other times their car might as well be bulletproof because you can't kill them till they get where they need to be first. I know some didn't like that they shrunk the map compared to San Andreas, but I think it's fine. I think it would be too empty if it was any bigger. While it has a decent amount of things to do, I still feel like Liberty City can feel barren at times, with only a few options on where to eat, play games, or take someone to a club. Things like the car wash feel like an unnecessary novelty, as the pay and spray could have served the same function. I brought it up before, but the player choice system doesn't feel fleshed out either, as outside of sparing Darko or the endings, not much changes in story for your choices to matter all that much. But I do enjoy some of the new things it tried out. For example, the random encounters. You won't see them on the bigger map, but if you happen to be around certain areas at the right time, you can do tiny little side missions, like catching up with Nico's friend Hassan after they've both left the boat, helping a girl get clean of her drug habit and leave Liberty City, drive around and later almost get killed by a serial killer. Seriously, I had no idea this was a thing when I first played this game. I like these a lot because it rewards the player for interacting with the city. and doesn't just put a big stamp on your map as something you should go and do like an Ubisoft game. While the actual little side missions aren't anything special compared to what you're doing in the main game, I enjoy the little stories and characters attached to them. The music in the game is fine, I guess. Outside of a few tracks, the entire soundtrack is licensed music. This makes my take on the music a lot more subjective, especially as my tastes have changed since I was a kid. When I was younger, I definitely remember liking it more, especially the Beat 102.7 and San Juan sounds, with artists like Nas, Kanye West, Fat Joe, and Daddy Yankee. While I more or less still like the music in the game, during this playthrough I was more into the radio shows on Integrity 2.0, Public Liberty Radio, and WKTT Radio. It was just funny to hear the comedic takes on conservative and liberal views from the mid-2000s. And while it still has that dated brown look of the 7th generation, I still think the graphics look pretty good, and does a pretty good job of setting the tone most of the time. To sum up my thoughts, Grand Theft Auto 4 was a great game that, unfortunately due to game journalists overhyping it, set up the wrong expectations of what the game really was, leaving a lot of fans feeling like it was overrated. It took the series in a more serious direction, one that really isn't all that different from Red Dead Redemption, for example, but one that may have been too serious for its fanbase at the time. It didn't help that Saints Row 2 would release a few months later and stick to a more comedic tone compared to 4. The Lost in the Dam DLC and the Ballad of Gay Tony would go on to add back in some of the things that were lacking from the base release, and depending on who you ask, it either succeeded in redeeming the whole experience, or felt like it was too little too late. But for me, it was fun to come back to this version of Liberty City and revisit these characters. While Nico may not be the best written character in the world, I found him a lot more interesting than other GTA protagonists. And while issues like the driving controls and the repetitive missions are a bit of a blemish on this title, I think this game is absolutely worth playing. So if you're not a fan of GTA 5 or have just been tired of only having that to play for the last 10 years, try GTA 4 instead. You may be surprised how you feel about the game, especially if you were like me and didn't like it at first. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, guys. So despite claiming I was going to do a few videos before this one, unfortunately Grand Theft Auto 4 ended up taking more of my time than I had originally planned. I'm still trying to get the hang of it, but bigger videos tend to take up more of my attention compared to the smaller ones. So it's hard to balance multiple games at once. Depending on the reception of this video, I'll probably limit how often I do which video type, so you guys aren't waiting forever for something new from me. I'm all ears on critiques too, guys, so if you felt some parts were too boring or it went on too long, let me know. The more I hear back, the more I can improve. Again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and comment down below. Which GTA game is your favorite? Did you like GTA 4 at first, or did its more grounded and serious take not do it for you? Would you like to see a follow-up video somewhere down the line talking about the DLC? Let me know. And if you're new to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. I'm FuzzySlippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.